This is an A to Z podcast like the last 7 times the Browns fired everybody. I'm Zach Jackson. He's Andre Knott, at Dre Knott, at Akron Jackson, on all your favorite social media platforms, A to Z podcast.com, facebook.com/A to Z podcast. Shouts, as always, special holiday and end of the year shouts to Cleveland Scene, to the Honeymoon Grill, to Cleveland Whiskey, and to American Fireworks, and to you guys for helping this thing grow. If you're new here, first, thanks for coming. Secondly, we get wound up. We say bad words. We usually mean them. But if that's not for you, if there are kids around, if you're in a work environment, please put on your earbuds or come back and listen to us at another time. We'd never want anyone to get in trouble for listening to A to Z. Andre, I can't quit laughing. I'm going to say that and I'm going to leave it at that.
It's funny. I mean, you can't, when you look at this situation, and I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, and we all are prisoners of the moment, especially when things like this happen. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how. And I've got a brown shirt on now. I didn't pay for it. The shirt that was given to me. but I don't want to start this way, but I got to start this way. I'm not sure how anyone that wants to be a fan of this organization, and you have that right. And we all have our reasons why we all grew up with our family watching Browns games. I don't know how you continue to give these people your money. They don't do anything that make it's not a good business. You know, I saw somebody tweet a few days ago, and I thought this tweet was dead on. That it's like the people that own a restaurant at the corner. One week it's an Italian restaurant and they've got terrible Italian food, so they tear it down, so they change it up and they make it Mexican, and then you get food poisoning, and then they make it into a barbecue joint. How many different times are they going to change it before you realize they just don't have any idea what the hell they're doing, and I can't be a customer of theirs. At some point in time, it's like it's the same restaurant on the corner of, it's the same one down in Lake Erie. It's the same one. They keep changing the face, but and you guys know me if you listen to this podcast. There's not many times where I'm beside myself. I'm beside myself, and I can't find the words right now to put together to say exactly what's triggering and going through my mind. Because Zach, this is ridiculous. John Dorsey was not the perfect, and I said this earlier in the year when people start bitching about Freddie and people were getting mad at me and they're like, I was called a pussy because I'm afraid to fire coaches. You didn't want to fire Hugh. Because my point is, it's not the head coach, people. It's not the general manager, people. It's not the sideline reporter. It's not, even though all these things reflect back upon the ownership is an issue. They have no idea what they're doing. They're playing with your money like it's monopoly money, because it is monopoly money to them. Yeah. They don't care. They've made a ton of money. They have no idea what they're doing. They run this organization like most of our buddies that we can't stand run their fantasy team.
Well,
congrats.
Two things to start, if you're new here or if you're not. If you're not, for one, it's bad when Andre runs out of words. And for two, whether you think we're full of shit or not, whether you think we have any idea what we're talking about or not, the one thing we have is food analogies. We're damn good at those, and I think you're spot on with your restaurant analogy there. Let me say this. Nobody wanted it to happen going back 9 months ago, 6 months ago, hell, even 4 weeks ago with Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens was so bad he left them no choice, right?
Right.
And nobody saw it happening with John Dorsey, but I could rather easily make the case that John Dorsey was fired for cause, starting with hiring Freddie Kitchens, but certainly going beyond that to all the bad guys he brought in, right? The regression of several guys this year. And just the overall vibe of this team sucked, Dre. They not only were disappointing, it was distraction after distraction off the field. It was immature thing after immature thing. And clearly the vibe inside and outside was bad. And as we always say, perception matters in pro sports.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
but before we dive into any of that, you pulled the plug on a guy in 2 years. Again, you pulled a plug on a head coach in 1 year again. And nobody knows who's making the next hire, what they're looking for, or what that head coach is going to demand or want, or who he's going to answer to. And that is worse than anything. I don't care if you were 1-15, 6-10, or 15-0. Not knowing is the worst. Just constantly doing this is the worst. It's embarrassing on every level. There is no defending the Haslams. There is no defending anybody that's defended them. The Browns are the laughingstock of sports again. And 2 years ago, they didn't win a game.
Yes. You know what? Let me go. Gosh, there's so much there I want to go with. Let's go back to John Dorsey. And I'm not going to sit here and be a John Dorsey apologist. As we went through, but I'm going to sound like one. I'll admit that. As we went through the season, you and I both have had issues with the characters that have been brought in. Is it fair for me to say that for both of us?
Yes.
We both paid attention to how the roster was built, and we realized that you can only have so many characters on your team if you want to win. But I don't blame him, Zach. Look what they brought him into. Look what he walked into. And what the Haslam's don't realize, see, the Haslams are like that girlfriend that keeps getting used and abused. She's a girl that keeps getting used and abused and can't figure out why. Well, it's because, you let everybody do whatever they want to do to you the first time they meet you, and then you're all mad that they don't respect you 2 months later. Well, when John Dorsey came in, you gave him carte blanche, right? He came in a year and a half ago. You forced them to keep Hugh Jackson. I mean, just look at all the dysfunction they continue to bring. What did you expect from John Dorsey? You made him ride with Hugh Jackson. Then you just let him – regardless of what we feel about Freddie, yeah, the choice may have been John Dorsey's. But who signs the checks, Zach? They fall in love with someone quicker than anybody I've seen somebody fall in love with, and then they fall right back out of love. How do you give John Dorsey all this? How does John Dorsey have all this power a year ago, but now you take all of it away from him?
Right. A year ago, right, exactly a year ago, you put him in charge of the football operation. It was premature, but he had earned it, right? And you're finally saying, we are out of the way. We have one guy that runs a football operation. He's got his guys that he brought in here a year previously, and they're going to do this. They're going to go get the coach. They're going to shape things. They're going to spend the rest of the cap money. They're going to pick the core players here. And 1 year later, you're pulling that plug again? You're never going to get anywhere. And you have to examine every inch of your decision-making process.
But it's not. But Zach, they just didn't start owning a team a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. This has been a culmination of them shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over again.
Let me say this, Trey.
And I'll go back.
Let me cut you off for 1 second, just for reference. I want you to hold that thought. As we record this on December 31st in the middle of the afternoon, they have owned the team for 7 years and 2 months. This is the fifth coaching search. This will be the fifth person in charge of the roster. Go on.
Yeah. Wow.
They've hired. That doesn't count the ones that they fired when they took over in 2012. Go on.
So when you hear us complaining about culture, when you hear us complaining about your quarterback having no respect for anyone around him, when you consider that they had the audacity to basically make the backup quarterback this year the starting quarterback's one of his best friends growing up. His other best friend ended up being what? The assistant coach, right? They have no idea what they are doing. And there's no one that can step in and stop this train from going on. Now, here's my question, and I said this on the air on Sunday morning, and everybody looked at me like I was crazy, but I stand by it, and I know what your answer is going to be because Zach has given me this answer probably 6 previous times in the last 6 years. If you're worth anything, why would you take a job with the Cleveland Browns? And I know you're going to give me it's one of 32, right? And you could tell me, well, you're going to get paid millions of dollars and probably not have to work for all of it. All true. But I wouldn't move my family to Cleveland, Ohio, if I'm the McDaniels. Like, go to the list of the respected guys that are. I mean, it's no. And there's something else to this that we're going to get to because obviously nothing has changed in Berea. Backstabbing 101 has been a part of just what goes on Lou Groves at Boulevard. Just that's what happens. And it's obvious there's somebody else that's speaking or whispering in the ears of the Haslams, in my opinion. But Zach, and I'm going to ask again because I asked again a year ago and I've asked again 2 years ago.
Just save it for next year, buddy. Let's talk about something.
Yeah. Just record this part of the podcast because we will be saying it again. Why, if I'm worth anything, if you're McDaniel, and I don't know, and I think I put him up at the top of the list because I just feel like it's time for him to come. If he's going to do it, if he's going to get off it's time to get off the pot. But I wouldn't make him come home. Like, to me, it's time for him to do it, right? Yeah. He's been through Denver. He's come back to New England. He was in St. Louis. I just feel like it's the time for him to do it. Right. But if he calls his dad Tom McDaniel right now, what do you think his dad? And both you and I have talked to his dad. We've interviewed his dad. If you're his dad, would you say, son, come home? I don't know if I can say. And both his sons are trying for the job now, supposedly, reportedly. Hell, if you say let's be French coach next year.
You raise all good points, and now what's different about Josh, and I want to get back to Josh, is that he knows he's on his last chance, right? So he is going to come somewhere where he believes in the quarterback and believes that they're not starting at ground zero because he knows how that goes. Now, you raise a great question about what reason he would have to think that the Haslams would give him more than 6 months in his last chance. You're right, but we'll come back to that. But it was pretty clear that Freddie was getting fired, right? Everybody knew that. I mean, I wasn't coming out and reporting that. No one was. It was pretty clear. So about a week ago, I started going around to people that I trust from in the league. Hey, who would you hire? What are you hearing? What's on the list? Even though it's off the record, some of them won't answer, right? About 4 of them did. Gave more than a name or whatever. And this is a person that's worked in the NFL for a long time. This is not a person that was fired by the Browns. This is not a person with an axe to grind against the Haslams or against John Dorsey or someone else. This is exactly what he wrote to me, okay? Who's going to be the coach? Whoever Peyton Manning likes. Then he says, I wonder what Dorsey really thinks about McCarthy. I'm not sure they get along. Not close enough to really know, but that's what I hear. All I know is it'll be the opposite of Freddie, more like a Greg Williams type. Take that for what it's worth. Meaning that the Browns just don't know what they're doing, right? And here's what he said that's really telling. They won't get a top guy. The owner has a bad rep, and the QB is an average talent with maturity issues.
Ooh.
So all of you guys who've been getting mad at us and mad at me and mad about the Browns, and God bless you, we love your passion. We do this fucking dance every year. What have we been telling you, right?
I everything you just read in there, I agree with. Like, this isn't a great job, people. The one thing about and that's the thing. There's always going to be someone like John Dorsey who respected the history of the Browns more than he respected the Haslams. And I'm saying that just off. I remember when he came in, he wanted to wake the sleeping giant. He to me waxed poetically about who the Browns were before 1996. And it worked for a little while because you can't fall in love with the Haslams. You can't trust them. And I hate to go back through everything that happened with their former company, but what happened with their former company tells you a lot about who they are. And I can tell my wife whatever I want about people I dated in high school and who I dated in college before I met her and this and that. But you know what? At the end of the day, when she wants to remember who I am, she's going to call me out on that. And she calls me out like that because that's part of my history. Part of the Haslam history is they had to pay almost $100 million to stay out of federal prison. But they had people that were go read, and I'm only bringing this up because I don't like bringing up people's dirt. We all got dirt, but there's something functionally about them that's not all the way they're right. You can say what you want about previous owners and things of that nature, but for the most part, they were halfway decent people and weren't put into go read some of the stuff of what was going on in their company. And I'll never forget Mike Snyder, the nicest man in Cleveland, Ohio, said to me the day that they were hired 8 years ago, the one quote they have at TAM that'll never die was Jimmy Haslam saying on the day that he took over ownership of the Browns, how he was a hands-on owner with his previous company. And then when the FBI raided it, he put his hands up and he acted like he was innocent and had no idea what was going on. That's who you're dealing with. Like, no longer is this just, and I know what sucks about this is like, look, he doesn't want to, look, for the most fans, you got regular jobs, you got family stuff, you got kid stuff. You treat the Browns as something that gives you a Sunday where you can relax and get away. And you can get away from all the headaches that real life gives you. Well, I'll tell you what, the Browns they don't do that. It's not enjoyable. I don't know why you guys keep doing it. It's almost like it's a charade between the T-shirt companies and the Haslams to keep you guys running to go get tickets. Stop doing it because the players don't care and the players are undisciplined because they don't have to be disciplined. It's not pushed upon them. It's a joke. Like the whole John Dorsey thing to me, it's like we're going to sit here and fight for John Dorsey. Is he the best that's ever been there, Zach? No. But he's maybe the best thing they're going to get over the next 5. Like, I don't see – like, here's the thing that I was going to ask you. How much power or how much say does the guy that lives in San Diego, how much does Paul DePodesta have going for him right now?
Well, that's hard to say. The answer is clearly more than most thought or would have been the answer a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, right? It was thought that Dorsey was heading up a football operation that was 85% football, and that DePodesta was this background character doing research and projects for them to support their decisions. So they had their models, so they back up things, right?
Right.
Clearly had a role. He was around for much of training camp, sometimes on the field, some not. Would see him on road trips. Would see him, with the owners and the other top executives and the times that they're visible, but none of those guys are visible. Past training camp, Dre, like being around the team, we're in the building, but you're there for segmented and really regimented parts of time, right? You see guys in passing. Right. Training camp, it's all on display. Everybody watches practice. Everything is open. Everybody's accessible, and it's great because they're optimistic because they're undefeated, right? And you don't go in the meeting rooms except via Hard Knocks, but you see who talks to who. You see who talks to you, right? There's no lying about a player being behind schedule or a guy coming out of nowhere because you watched him play every day. You watch the organization work. After that, we don't know. And clearly, again, this is a case of behind closed doors, just people doing whatever they want. The structure. Obviously, something went on. There was some conflict between John Dorsey and the Haslams and John Dorsey's people. Alonzo Highsmith, for one, comes to mind, right? They weren't what it is. I don't know. I can't sit here and hopefully.
Well, none of us. And that's what I'm getting at. Obviously, they want, and it's not even about analytics anymore. The problem is, and I don't like to quote Mike Lombardi or take from Mike Lombardi, but it's pretty obvious that they don't trust anyone, right, Zach? Like if I hire you and I say you're my CEO, and I'm going to go, and our hierarchy is going to go. Zach Jackson is who I talk to about how we run the A to Z Podcast Center. I'm the CFO and you're my next guy. Well, I can't hire another guy underneath you or beside you, Zach, and still listen to everything he says and question you when the other guy goes, I don't know about what Zach went out and bought a bunch of paper for a printer last week, and I could have got it cheaper. I think he's wasting your money. At some point in time, you got to tell that person, hey, shut up. That's not how this is regulated. Right. You go through Zach if you have a problem. If you don't like what Zach's doing, you talk to Zach and I talk to him. It's obvious they still are listening to any and everyone. Think about the quote that you had from someone that texted you. That even on the outside, people around the NFL that don't know what the daily workings of Berea said, well, he'll do whatever Peyton Manning thinks is best. Like, that's the image. And to me, that's the most telling image of who the Haslams are right now across the NFL. That all of us know that they have no backbone or no thought process of their own. They listen to Peyton. They listen to this guy. They'll listen to that guy. They'll listen to this guy. I mean, in all seriousness, and I don't want to get on Freddie. If anything, Freddie should be dancing, right? If I was Freddie, I would go put on the Pittsburgh started shirt and I'd be doing snow angels in the backyard drinking Christmas ale right now. All the T-shirt companies should go over to Freddie's house. We should go to Freddie's house and have a Happy New Year's with him. It's the best thing that could happen to Freddie. Because at the end of the day, with all the dysfunction now and what happened throughout the season, Freddie can go to another NFL team and say, hey, man, yeah, I'd never been a head coach. Yeah, I'd never been I'd never called plays. But shit, who do you expect? They ran out the GM too. Like it's a joke. Don't you guys make the joke that during the combine in February, hasn't there been like a behind-the-scenes story of basically a bunch of the former Browns employees having their own like party or whatever else, or dinner, basically getting together? It just grew. And you know better than I do. They got to charge their own damn flight now. Right? And they can afford it because they're still all getting paid by the Haslams. I mean, imagine the stories that are going to leak out now. Like, this is just the beginning. Like the other day when it became official that they fired Freddie, I just texted Zach, congrats. I mean, for all of you that bitch and moan and complain about the writers and the media, can we have a moment right now? Can we all come together before we go into 2020, or if you're listening to this in 2020, can we all have a moment of silence and all realize that no matter what is written, no matter how bad the questions are, no matter how stale the questions are, no matter how much the writing is stale, or even though the Athletic has done a great job of keeping us informed and telling stories, could you Nimrods get your heads out of your ass and stop blaming the media? Please.
No.
Please.
No.
Get a grip. Get a grip.
Beyond that, let me say this. Guys, it just doesn't have to be personal, and it's not. We're observers, right? Everyone is, whether you're a fan, a writer, a broadcaster, a general tweeter, a general fan of football, a season ticket holder. We're observers. Nobody affects it, right? So this is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be taken personally, right?
No.
But all that being said, how can you give this organization any credit for anything? How can you defend one person involved with this shit show? That's all we're asking back, right?
Right. It's not that hard. And here's the other thing that you got. I'm going to go back to that quote. This has nothing to do with what's happened in the last 24 hours, but it's got everything to do with what's happened in the last 24 hours. There's a pretty decent chance that number 6 isn't the franchise quarterback. And if 6 isn't the franchise
down the road, but you're damn right.
Yeah. No, it's for down the road. You're right, because we don't have to break him down completely. And I was paying attention because you know how you're around family during this time of the year, and just randomly an uncle of mine, and I won't say his name, but he's been around sports. He was a referee in the ACC for a long time, football referee. I'll make him nameless. Certain people listening will get it and know, but he refereed a lot of Miami University games, the U, when the U was the U, as he used to tell me. And he said something around Christmas that just blew me away. He was like, I got used to how guys at the U talked and how they dealt with people. And he goes, and at first it was a turnoff, and I didn't really like doing their games. But I got to kind of know who they were and how they functioned and how they respected each other and how hard they worked at the game, that I got past a lot of the rah-rah and all the shit that they said and did. He goes, but I got to tell you, their leaders never led like number 6 tries to lead the Browns. His point was like, for as crazy as the U was when he was around them, they always had adults leading them. They may have been different types of adults, but they were adults. And his point was, name me one starting quarterback that has been as much of an asshole as that guy is. And then when he saw the video, his son showed him the video of Baker barking at the beer vendor. And he simply said, this isn't a leader. And he goes, and I don't know what's going to change him. But he goes, Tom Brady ain't yelling at that guy. And you hate going off. He goes, Joe Montana ain't yelling at that guy. He goes, they may wink and smile at him. He goes, hell, Joe Montana or some of the smart ones, Steve Young, they would grab a football and throw it up to the guy and say, have a good day. Kill him with kindness. He goes, all this kid is doing is proving how much of an immature idiot he is. And I'm just going to leave it at that. You guys can wear your 6 jerseys. You can be excited about him. If he doesn't grow up, we're going to start all over again. And like you just said, and here's the deal. It doesn't matter what their record is in 2020. If 6 doesn't progress, you're probably going to see. If I'm going in for the coach's job or GM's job, doesn't one of the questions have to be, if we don't like Baker Mayfield, are we going to get fired when we try to get our own quarterback? That's a legit question to me, Zach.
It is, Dre, and it raises the question to me of, like, what isn't a fair question? Like, how do these interviews go for 3 days long to get all your questions answered? Like, who wants this job?
Right.
Who wants to do this?
Right. Why would you? But you know what? You end up with a guy like Freddie. Who's like, the hell with it. This is my opportunity. And, I remember with Freddie in the summer, there was one of those. It was one of those random press conferences. It may have been the first one where he said, "I didn't ask for the job. I didn't do nothing to change the job, and I'm not going to change who I am." I got to give Freddie credit. He didn't lie. Like go back and listen. Like I saved certain transcripts, and I went back and read it. And I chuckled the other day because I was like, Freddie didn't lie. Dude, like Freddie told you. I ain't changing. This is who I am.
Right.
And damn it, he was.
Right. No, it was rather obvious. And listen, there is a case for firing Dorsey. It's surprising, sure. I'm not sure it's the right thing, given that you've never stuck with anything. given that even though your core maybe wasn't as solid or as overall talented as you thought, he was starting to build one, right? He is a talent evaluator. So they're spinning this as he was not willing to accept changes, which means he was going to take a VP role, and the DePodesta, this to me, the DePodesta or someone else was going to run the organization. That means that they were sick of him bringing in shithead guys, that they could not believe that he thought hiring Freddie Kitchens was a good idea, and they were hesitant to let him go forward with the next guy. So all of those are understandable things, Dre, right? To me right now, like, you haven't gotten it right yet. I mean, of all the things that Freddie Kitchens did wrong, there was only two things to not pull the trigger on him. And that was that one, well, it was only 1 year. And the two, what the hell makes you think you can get it right? What qualifications does anyone in there have to hire the right guy, to think that it's the right plan? And then what possibly could those guys think that they can do to be different, that they're not going to meet the same fate? Did they think in this culture, working for these guys, taking over this roster of guys that have never won shit, that act like petulant children, that are in this building where no one's ever got it right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're right. First of all, I got to say this. If you fired or let go or however, whatever fancy word we'll pay you for the next 2 years, John Dorsey, did you do your research on John Dorsey before you hired him?
Yeah.
Did you look at the rosters that were put? He didn't do anything. John Dorsey did nothing. I'm going to stand with John Dorsey. And you know what? Damn it, if you hired me to do a job a certain way and I sign my name that I have certain amounts of power and I have the ability to put whatever I want on the roster, then damn it, when you try to take it away from me, I'm not accepting that. But I will say this. Did the Haslam's not look at what happened in Kansas City? Did they not see the roster? So you can't have it both ways. You can't say, hey, John, we're going to bring you in here. We really need some talent, man. We love that talent you got in Kansas City. We need some of that. Well, if you want that, you got to also take what comes with that. And when you looked at that Kansas City roster, did you just fall in love with the Tyreek Hill scoring touchdowns, or you didn't read that he was kicking women in the stomach when they were pregnant beforehand? Did you not read that or know that about them? Did you not know that he took a left tackle from Central Michigan or whatever Michigan as a number one pick? And I don't want to beat up on Fisher. Fisher's actually had a decent career, and that was a bad draft. So whatever. But there's a reason why he wasn't in Green Bay anymore. There's a reason he wasn't in Kansas City anymore. So now you're going to hold that against him? You can't, how are you going to establish anything if you don't keep anyone? How? I don't get it. So to me, I don't want to take this job and come in next year. But think about this. They let Hugh Jackson coach for 3 years, almost 2.5. Right. They let John Dorsey be a part of the organization for what, year and a half?
5 weeks. He was hired in December, so he had 2 seasons. But he was hired in December and then fired in 2 Decembers later. Yes.
Okay, my bad. So he had 2 drafts, but still, Hugh Jackson lasted longer than he did.
Right.
So and do you I was gonna say this, and if you come in as a GM or as a coach, don't you have to tell your agent to negotiate a 5-6 year deal? Is that only how you stay here or come here? Because you're gonna pay me for 5 or 6 years, or I ain't coming.
That's right. I mean,
right?
How would you? They have made it the least desirable job that there is. And listen, let me continue. If Dorsey was going to be on the hot seat, and if he had failed you, roster-wise, and with the O-line and some of the draft picks, I'm listening, culture-wise, right, then there's no sense in going forward on the hot. Time will tell on this. Like I said, I can make a case. And in hell, in the next 24 or 48, I might be writing a column on the case why he had to go. I'm not trying to jump into that part of it. What I'm trying to say is, what's next? What is the plan? And how could you possibly sell anyone, your fans, your ticket holders, most importantly, the people that matter, the people you're going to hire, on them being able to see their plan through? Right?
Yes. All right, let me go. I want you to write that story, but I'm going to ask you something first. I don't know if the good outweighs the bad with John Dorsey. I think the good does. I don't think he was perfect. But I can't wait till you write this article, because I would simply say, in most cities, don't you get a chance to fix some of the things that you may have hurt? I mean, to me, and I don't know what happened, and we weren't in that room, But I think I would say, okay, you know what? Maybe I was hell-bent on just getting talent here, and I wasn't paying attention to character because I was trying to catch us up. And I got excited because I thought we were close. And maybe I did pull the trigger on a couple of guys that I probably knew better. But I think we're pretty close to being a decent franchise if we can just fix a couple of holes. Like, how do you not listen to that? I like that to me is bewildering to me, Zach. Do they think they're going to hire somebody perfect? Nobody's going to get perfect players. No one's going to get perfect. No one's going to hit on every draft pick. No player is going to be the perfect player. Like, shit happens. There's the reason why we all say it.
You know what? I mean, honestly, like, I'm the first one to say, like, these guys that do this at a high level and make all these millions, like, they usually earn it. They've put in the time. They see things that we don't know, right? But it ain't rocket science or brain surgery, right? And so when you're negotiating this contract, when you're the owner or one of the high business side officials that works for the owner, and you're hiring John Dorsey for 4 years or 5 years on his deal, like, you're not supposed to be thinking that you're paying him $8 million to leave. You're supposed to be seeing it through, right?
Right.
What is the point of a 4 or 5 year contract if you have no intent of seeing it through?
It's unbelievable. I why would you even interview with these clowns? Like, literally, why would I? Like, yeah, that's why Shanahan was great when he was talking about yesterday. I don't know if you heard his quote about interviewing what's the defensive guy, Salah, who I don't even know is ready. He didn't even run his own defense all the way. That's a whole nother TV. Peter King did a good thing writing about him, how they media falls in love with people for whatever reason. He may be good. I'm not going to kill him, but it's funny who we turn into stars. But Shanahan was great yesterday. He's like, sure, I got no problem with him trying out for the job or whatever. They're going to fly out here. Yeah, go ahead. I wouldn't fly to Cleveland. You want to interview me? Come to my house. You can come talk to me. I'm not spending any. Like, it's just, this is a joke. It's a joke. And the sad thing is, and I've said this on radio and I've said it here, it's December 31st. We're going into a new year, a new decade. And we all know, and this is the beauty of where we are and what we are in life. Zach's going to sell way more books. And come August 15th or 14th, you guys are going to sell out and go down there. And I'm not saying sell out the bad way. I got my phone. I've got 55 text messages missed since we started doing this podcast. And most of them all hate the Browns right now. And I would say 45 of them will be at training camp on day one. The Cleveland Browns are a drug like no other. No offense to heroin, no offense to cocaine, whatever it may be. There ain't no drug like them orange helmets in Berea. No. They got us. You guys are hooked. We all are. It's crazy.
I mean, you can't fire the owners, Trey. We've done this dance before, right?
Yeah, you can't. I tweeted it out. I don't know if you guys know the Stepien rules. Ted Stepien was the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers back in the 80s. And he was very much like the Haslam's, had no idea what he was fucking doing, became a minstrel sideshow to the rest of the NBA. And he got so bad as an owner that he was trading away his first-round picks left and right. That the NBA had to step in, and this rule is still in effect to this day. And it's called the Stepien rules. Look it up, kids. The older generation will know this. That it was so bad that the NBA had to step in and made a Stepien rule. And the rule was that you couldn't trade first-round picks in back-to-back years anymore. So they didn't want teams going multiple years without a first-round pick. So because Ted Stepien was such an idiot and kept doing it, they had to step in and stop him from doing that. I don't know anything. I don't know anybody that would tell us this information, Zach. But we got to get pretty close to the other owners and the NFL looking at each other going, hey, man, we got to do something about what's going on in Cleveland. You can't get rid of the owners. You can't tell people what to do. But there's about to be a Haslam rule sooner or later,
right? They're playing the division with the Bengals, Dre.
It's going to be the Ohio rules.
Hey, so I don't have the exact numbers.
They make the Bengals.
Here we are. It's January in 9 hours, and here we are again. I don't have the exact numbers for this stat, but a little history is getting made/broken this weekend, depending on how you look at it. Okay. In the last approximately 15 years, maybe this century, maybe it's 20. Someone tweet this if you find it. Only 2 teams have not played. No, it's 15 years because the Browns made the playoffs in 2002. Only two teams have not played on Wild Card Weekend: the Browns and the Patriots. And the Patriots play this Saturday night. Think about that.
Wow. Well, you just made me think about something else. The Haslam's have made the Brown family look like they're strong, intelligent owners down in Cincinnati. Think about that. The Bengals are a better organization right now. Bull. They've been in the playoffs.
They have been.
They've been in they've got are they a joke? Are they cheap? Can we make jokes about them? Sure. But I know at least when they hire somebody, hey, Zach Taylor or whatever that dude, Zach Papadopoulos or whoever they hired to be the head coach, that motherfucker's going to coach all the way till his contract is up.
Yes, he is.
There's no, whether he's good, bad, or in between.
Him and Tom Arth at Akron, because they can't afford to fire him either.
Hey, leave Tom Arth alone. Damn, man.
Between the two of them, they won two games this year, and one of them beat the Browns by 10 just the other day.
This is sad. Football is hard. It's 2020, and where football started, we got some of the most embarrassing. Shout out to Columbus. Shout out to Ohio State. Y'all got robbed. What is against Ohio football right now? Seriously. What is going on in the great state of Ohio in football? This is unbelievable. Like all these teams. Like all of it. And how about this? And I'll say this the right way. I worked with Jim Donovan and Doug Deacon on the broadcast years ago. You guys know that. And I still have a pretty good relationship with both of those guys. I text and joke and mess with them. And unfortunately, I had to have a text with Jimmy that, Jimmy and I have had before, but I never thought I'd be sending it to him in 2019. I listened to the game because I was doing radio. I had my daughter. This is how much I did not care about the last game. I told my wife weeks ago. It gives you a little intel into my life and what I thought about the Browns this year. I scheduled LASIK eye surgery first thing Monday morning after the Browns last game. And I also told my wife to schedule my daughter's birthday party at a gym. I told her to make it at 1 o'clock on Sunday. And I texted that to my wife. She was like, "You sure? December 29th, 1 o'clock?" She goes, "That's a Sunday, right?" And I go, "Yeah, the Browns are playing the Bengals. It won't matter." I go, "Both of them are trash." I said that like 8 weeks ago. So I went to the birthday party. I barely watched. But I listened to the game, and I texted Zach. But I was listening, and I was listening to Jimmy. And about halftime, I texted Jimmy. I was like, "Hey, man, Happy New Year. You guys, hang in there. This will be another one of those flights." And I don't want to put Jimmy on blast or anything like that. But at the end of the game, I texted him again because he had sent something back to me, "Happy New Year. Hope the family's good. Tell your daughter I said happy birthday." And I go, "Man," I'm not calling you out, but I can hear in your voice, man. And I can just hear it in your voice. This has been a tough one. And he goes, "Yeah, it is. It's draining. It's draining." We've said this before. I know it's tough for all of us in different ways. And I know Jimmy and Doug get paid, but man, have they been put through the ringer. Having to try to sugarcoat the bullshit that they see and trying to sugarcoat, because here's the deal. And you know this, Zach, very well. Jimmy and Doug, they know way more than they ever allowed to say. But we keep putting mics in front of them, and they keep being professionals, and they keep just taking it, and they keep getting on those flights. And I made the joke. I go, "Jimmy," I go, "this team is taking about 20 years off your life. Or you're just going to have to take this one for the team and be here until they figure it out." It's sad, man. It's sad having two people that you look up to, that you're friends with, and just see them go through this. And, and I almost made the joke. I said, "This will be a fun flight." And like how many times do you have to go to that flight? How many times? And it's just not Jim and Doug. And you've written about this. There are good people that work in Berea. And unfortunately, the December in Berea thing, it's become a running joke. It's kind of funny. But there are a lot of families, and Zach, you know this. There's a lot of people this isn't funny for.
Right.
There's a lot of assistant coaches sitting in that office right now. Or they're going home, and look, you only get so many dates with your wife and your kids when you're an assistant coach, or when you're working as you're working and cleaning the uniforms and cleaning and taking care of the equipment, or you're the chefs, or whomever you may be in that building. There are only so many days you can look at a calendar and say, "Honey, we can do something." Well, I'd say about 80% of those people, that don't get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're getting ready to go to New Year's Eve parties. They're getting ready to, to see their kids and hang out with them or go on vacation for a few days. And once again, they have no idea what their future holds.
Right.
That's bullshit, Jimmy Haslam. That's bullshit, D. Haslam. It's bullshit that you continue to own a place that fucks over good people left and right because you can't get out of your own fucking way.
I mean, Dorsey cleaned out the personnel staff to bring in his own guys, right?
Right.
So what's the next guy going to do?
So what's the next guy? Exactly. What's the next guy going to do? Same thing. Like I was with last year at this time, I was with Josh Cribbs, who had just interned, and he interned as a coach, really wanted to coach special teams, had a good time, loved it. Say what you will. Yeah, he's a friend, so maybe but I just went through this. I watched Josh Cribbs go through it. Now, Josh was all right because Josh is Cleveland. He's us. And Lord knows he's about the best thing we've had in 20 years of Browns football. That says a lot about him and us. But he went through the same thing. I watched him walk into it. We walked in together. He said, yeah, they just told everybody we probably won't have our jobs next year. Now, Josh was ever to bounce back, but it was New Year's Eve, and I'm watching Cribbs text his wife, yeah, let's have that New Year's Eve party. It'll be all right. We'll figure it out. And they did, but it's bullshit that I have that many friends. And look, there's people that are out in Berea that are afraid to say they're friends with me because they don't want to go through what they're going through right now. I don't even ask. Like there used to be people that I would get tidbits or get stuff from. Like you're like, man, I don't even want them to give me stuff anymore. I'm like, nah, because they treat people like that like crap, Zach. How many people do we know? How many of the underlings do we know that they just treat like shit in case they leak something or say something? Y'all better figure it out, Jimmy and D. You guys are a joke in every sense of the term. It truly is a joke. And it's on you guys. It's not on the quarterback. It's not on John Dorsey. It's not on Freddie Kitchens. It's not. It's not on Hugh Jackson. It's not on – it's just this is runneth over. It's a joke. It is a joke. How these guys can show their faces to other owners. Like, how do you sit down with the Roonies right now if you're the Haslams? And how about the game they ran on the Haslams? They just took their money. They didn't teach them anything.
Let's get out of here on this note. So every year the owners' meetings are the end of March, right? So what's that? That's 9 months, right? It's the end of December. It's 9 months. So at the owners' meetings, we, as a local and national media contingent, get formal time with the head coach and the GM. There's other time where people are just milling around. Basically, the tops of every department in the NFL attend these. Like the coordinators aren't there and the assistant GMs aren't there, but everybody else is. If you got a VP title, you're there for something, right? So
right.
The GM is there, the head coach is there. Like I said, there's the formal times with them. We, as a local media corps, get formal time with the actual owners. It's maybe one of only 2 times all year in a lot of years that we get that. Anyway, so there's a lot going on. And in the middle of the night, the meetings go for about 4 days, but the formal activities are about 2.5 days. So the next to last night, they have a reception, and they let us in. So they kind of force the plebes or the highfalutin people to mingle with the plebes, right?
Right.
So just last year, just 9 months ago, in Phoenix at the Biltmore, one of the more incredible places I've ever seen.
Oh, unbelievable.
Right.
Yes, it is.
So I'm there and doing my thing, and we sit out at this outside patio with Dorsey, and we talk football, and we talk about free agents and how the Odell Beckham thing came together and what expectations are and what Baker needs to do in his second year and who else needs to get better and what. And the next morning we have the coaches' breakfast, and we see Freddie in his setting and talk about this. And the night before at the thing, I had talked with some of the big shots, met 1 or 2 of the new people. Just for a moment, just talk with Freddie, totally, off the radar. Hey, how you doing? This is pretty cool, right? I mean, it was his first owners meeting. He looks about as out of place as I do there, right? But I can't describe to you what a party at the Biltmore is like when you're surrounded by billionaires, right? I can say it too, but I really can't do it justice. Anyway, so then on the last day of the formal activities, we sit outside in the sun, and the Haslams come, and we do some off the record, just mingling, or if they have anything they don't want to talk about, or if they want to say, hey, this is not going to come up for another couple weeks, we want to let you guys know, we do that. Well, in the on-the-record discussion, to Jimmy's credit, he was the one person kind of tapping the brake pedal. But think about all those names I just said, and then in the course of the thing, even though he tapped the brake pedal, he said, we know we've done wrong. We feel good about the organization on the business side. We feel good about the relationships we have in the Cleveland community and with our sponsors and with just the city and our fans, our ticket holders in general. And we feel finally good about the football operation. 9 months later, the first two people I named no longer work for him, and everything they said sounds like BS because obviously they didn't. So whose fault? Yeah. What's next? And again, like I said, guys, I can easily build a case for firing Dorsey. I'm not here screaming in the microphone because they fired John Dorsey. I'm here screaming in the microphone because it's another lost season for the Cleveland Browns. It's another regime change for the Cleveland Browns, and there is zero clear answer as to what's next and how the hell they ever get out of this cycle of being the most embarrassing organization in sports. Thanks for listening. Have a good New Year.
Konnichiwa, John Dorsey. Kimosabi. Come back. You want to come here, buddy boy?
Guys,
Konnichiwa, Freddie
still
Kitchens.
going. I mean, we would love to talk New Year's resolutions. We would love to play Glory Days by American Fireworks and talk about shit we did 20 years ago, right? But, I'm exhausted. I'm mentally freaking exhausted. Yeah. I'm sitting here in my goddamn boxer shorts.
Yeah, I know. The funny thing is, even to my wife and kids, they're just like my wife is because I took a nap. And let me say this. I got to say this, and I know it's not a part of a partnership, but maybe it will be down the road. I'll say this quickly. It has nothing to do with the podcast, but it has something to do with me. If you've checked on social media, you've seen that I've had laser eye surgery over the last 24, 48 hours. I went to a couple different companies because I went back and forth with it. I was afraid of it. My eyesight is something that's important. Obviously, it's my career to be able to see. And I used the Cleveland Clinic Cole Eye Institute. They were awesome in every sense of the terms and the ways that they treated me and what they went through. And today, the doctor that did my eyes, he looked at me. He goes, man, your eyes are better in 20 than 20. We were able to do that in 24 hours. He goes, are you surprised that they fired Freddie Kitchens? I go, I'm more surprised that I got 20/20 vision. That is a God honest truth. It's reality. But I want to say thank you to everybody at the Cleveland Clinic. They were great. They took care of me. If you're thinking about that type of surgery, thinking about something like that, check them out. Tell them that you heard that I did it. Tell them you went to Andre. Shebang. Get it all done before the new year, all that other good stuff.
So I'm going to tell the story now because it's not going to come up at any other time. So this is our American Fireworks Glory Days. And American Fireworks is open 365 at AmericanFireworks.com. So 20 years ago tonight, Dre, I would have been 20 years old, right? Mm-hmm. Little did I know I'd be 6 months away from starting working for the Cleveland Browns, right?
Right.
But I was home. At OU, we were on quarters, so we went back the 1st of January. But I'd been home for 6 weeks, so I'd always work at a local newspaper and in the shoe store in Belden Village, Finish Line. And I'd just be around hanging out with my friends because at the time, unless people's parents had moved away or unless they were abroad, you came home for Christmas and the New Year, right? And if I was 20, all my friends were, most of them anyway, were 18 to 22, and most of them had gone away to college or, the few hadn't stuck around, had houses or places, and we hung out here. So I don't know why I remember this above any of the others, but even though I wasn't of legal drinking age, it was a big night. And then, of course, it was the change of the millennium, and everybody thought the computers were going to bust and all that stuff, right? So I remember hanging out with my friend Josh Byers, and shout out, I don't think he's listening, but it's a goddamn miracle he's alive. I remember smoking a pipe with Josh Byers that night. And as you know, I don't even know how to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, I was going to say, you?
So I somehow get dropped off. We were at the barn behind my buddy Brian Workman's house, which was probably a mile and a half from where my parents lived.
Workman.
Oh, yeah. So I get dropped off, and I'm sleeping. And Texas played in the Cotton Bowl at 11 a.m. the next day. I remember that for a reason. So my mom comes in the room, and she's like, get up, you're going to miss the Texas game. And I'm like, I'm not doing well. She's like, well, you're not, I don't care if you're 20 years old. You're not in my house sleeping past 11 o'clock. Get up. So I take a pee, and I brush my teeth, and I come down, and Reg has this big plate of food for me, right? And I take a whiff, and I take one bite of mashed potatoes, and I run up and I yak all over my parents' bathroom.
I know this story a little bit.
But I feel better immediately, right? Because I get the toxins out of my body.
Right. Get it out.
I watch the Texas game. I lay around. Well, we had tickets that night to Metallica and Kid Rock at the Q. 1100. Big show. Huge show. And I was going with this girl named Marissa who I'd been after for years and years and years. And she finally agreed to go on a date with me. But probably because I had these good tickets to Metallica, right? So there were 6 of us. So it was me, 4 of my dipshit friends, and Marissa. Finally, after 4 years of knowing her, got her to go on a date with me. And as we stood in the line outside the queue, waiting to get in, my friend Richie puked all over Marissa's shoes.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
I hope you met Marissa. Remember she picked us up that time in Cincinnati.
Oh, Cincinnati. That's right. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What a life. How are we still here? How are we still in Ohio?
I don't know. But shouts to my parents and God for keeping me alive.
Yeah, no doubt. Shout out, same for me. Shout out to my parents and my wife. I don't know how I've gotten to this point. This may be the first year that as we were doing this, my wife texted and she said, "Hey, you're 40. You're 41 now. Do we have to fucking drink?" She didn't say fuck. I said that. She goes, "Do we really have to drink Andre to bring in the new year for the 20th year straight?" And during this podcast, I just said back, "Nah, we can move on to something else." So I'm matured or something like that.
Well, I was going to go to the gym today, but I'm out of time because of the Browns and the podcast. Thanks for listening. Be safe out there. I don't know. Unless there's a development, we probably won't have another one into the week. But, we'll see. Thank you, guys. This means a lot to us. Your support of us means a lot to us.
I love you guys.
Thanks
Seriously.
for listening. Thanks
Appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Happy New Year's. And the people that don't love us, will bury us on our stomachs so you can kiss our ass. Love y'all. Happy New Year.
We'll see everybody at the Super Bowl next year.